Hello and welcome. I am Thomas Porteous and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. After Friday's devastating 7.7 magnitude earthquake hit Myanmar, the death toll climbs to over 1,600. The military junta starts allowing aid from China, India and Russia. In Bangkok, 17 are dead as search for survivors continues. Anti-coup rebels in Myanmar, led by the People's Defence Force, declare a 2-week ceasefire to allow earthquake relief. This comes as the junta continues bombing parts of the country after the earthquake. Hamas says it supports a ceasefire in Gaza amid ongoing Israeli strikes. The Arab-mediated backed plan would see 5 hostages freed for a 50-day truce. Meanwhile, Hamas releases a new video of a hostage held in Gaza. During a Japan visit, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth vows robust, ready and credible deterrence in the Indo-Pacific, including in the Taiwan Strait. In Tokyo, Hegseth calls Chinese actions aggressive and coercive. In Europe, Ukraine accuses Russia of war crimes with military hospital strike in Kharkiv, damaging the building and wounding military personnel undergoing treatment, while killing 2 others in a drone attack in the same region. Wildfires continue to rage on in South Korea, with the death toll now at 30. South Korean police launch a probe into a suspected man of accidentally igniting the blaze that has burnt more than 48,000 hectares of land. In Moscow, Putin's $355,000 limo explodes on a city street in a possible assassination attempt. The vehicle, part of the president's official fleet, is engulfed in flames near the Secret Service HQ. Hundreds of thousands in Turkey continue to protest the arrest of Mayor Imamoglu. The arrest of Erdogan's main rival sparks the biggest protest in nearly a decade. We start now with the latest on the devastating earthquakes that have rocked Myanmar and Thailand. A 5.1 magnitude aftershock has jolted Myanmar's second largest city, Mandalay, just days after Friday's catastrophic earthquake. While the death toll in Myanmar has soared to 1,644, with over 3,400 injured after the massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck. The major earthquake is said to have released energy equivalent to over 300 atomic bombs. This was according to American geologist Jess Phoenix in Myanmar. The anti-coup fighters have also declared a 2-week partial ceasefire to relief operations. Historic sites have been severely damaged, with pagodas, mosques and monasteries reduced to rubble. Rebel forces in the Sajing region are using elephants to clear destroyed roads. In Thailand, a Chinese-backed construction firm is under investigation after a 33-story high-rise building collapsed in Bangkok during the earthquake. Experts warn that less than 10% of buildings in the city are designed to withstand such disasters. Thailand has also deployed a 55-member team of military medics, first responders and Air Force personnel to Myanmar to aid earthquake relief efforts, following a request from Myanmar's junta leader. Myanmar's junta chief, Senior Min Aung Hlaing, has called for a coordinated medical response as hospitals face shortages of supplies. Meanwhile, more than 50 mosques were damaged and many Muslim worshippers are feared dead. The US Geological Service's predictive modelling estimates that Myanmar's death toll could surpass 10,000, with economic losses potentially exceeding the country's annual output. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's dismantling of US aid is expected to hinder recovery, with critics saying the US response has been noticeably muted. We are now joined by Brian Thomas, correspondent for NewsX, joining us live from Chatuchak Market, live in Thailand. Brian, thank you very much for joining us. What developments can you give us from the ground, Brian? You are obviously on the scene in Thailand. Last time we spoke, you were near that building where rescue efforts are ongoing. How successful are those rescue efforts doing, Brian?
Well, definitely, rescue efforts are still ongoing. From 28, 2 p.m. onwards, even now, 24/7, the Thai authorities have been working endlessly, tirelessly to rescue the people who are stuck under the debris. Let me show you this very visuals also. These are the missing report kiosks also that has been made. You can see there have been, all the dates that have been given. You can see the latest dates, numbers, where on the left hand side, you can see 96 people are still missing. 11 people are in the list of people who lost their lives, unfortunately, and on the left hand side there's 8 people who are still injured. So you can see that the death toll has increased to 11 now. Let me also come ahead and show you the visuals of the site where this accident took place. This 30-story building felt the havoc of the earthquake that jolted Bangkok, that jolted many such places, even Myanmar as well. And you see this entire place has also been, cordoned off, has been sealed off as rescue efforts have been going on. Other than that, also you can see drones have been also deployed. Apart from that, there have been 10 to 15 big machines, big crane services have been, put out to take all these efforts to take out the people, to rescue the people as soon as possible, because now they have the 72 hour window, where that is the most critical window, because that is that chance when you get to know, you get an understanding that yes, you can save people. But now just 20 hours are left, that is just a day to help out people, to save people. And now they are attempting to take to rescue as much as the person they can. But unfortunately, the death toll is also increasing. Right now, in the early morning, the death toll was still 9. Now it has risen to 11, and as people are still hopeful, that we are still praying, they are still hopeful that there will be people who will be rescued as soon as possible. Apart from that, there have been mobile ambulances, that have been deployed, ambulance services, emergency control vehicles, even armed forces have also been deployed at this very area to take out, to rescue people as soon as possible. Yes.
Brian, what's the general feeling around Bangkok right now? Is it of hope? Is it anger? Are people hopeful that these people are going to be found in this building that is the most notable catastrophe of the Bangkok region?
It's only hope. The only thing that is keeping everyone together, all the authorities, the locals, are hope, because they are hopeful that their family members, their loved and dear ones will be, will be safe. And also the entire country, rather the entire city, and even the country has come together to help everything possible. All the aids have been given in terms of the medical supplies. The locals are coming ahead to provide water, relief items, medicine supplies, and all of these items have been provided. Water bottles being provided. The Indian community has also come forward to help people in this dire time as well. Yes.
Brian, thank you very much. We will hear again from you soon, I'm sure. Meanwhile, my colleague Brian has also spoken to people present at the construction site where the workers continue to remain trapped. Let's have a look.
Well, NewsX is in Bangkok, and we have been covering everything that happened in Bangkok, and not just only Bangkok. We were covering everything that was happening in Myanmar. Unfortunately, more than 1,700 people lost their lives in Myanmar. Even though, yes, Myanmar is getting the international recognition, international support from India, US, UK, and all other places. Now, we are also joined by by a very special guest. But before that, with the current data as well, even now a mortal remain of a person was also found in Bangkok, where the death toll has also reached to 9. I'm talking about all this, we are joined by Suraj Giri, who is also a Burmese, Burmese from Burmese and also Burmese protester rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my very first question to you would be, talking about Burmese, talking about Myanmar, talking about Mandalay, what happened? What is going on? What is the situation there? Are you being able to talk to your family members? Is the contact happening?
Well, about the family member, when we contact talking, it's impossible. Talking, we have a cut connection for 5 years already now. For this situation, is of course no electricity, no line, no telephone, no nothing. Yes, it's a terrible time for Burma right now. Also in Bangkok.
Yeah. So how is the situation in Myanmar and in Bangkok also?
Well, Burma is a terrible because of the dictator Ming Online. Yes, actually, he bombing for like 5 years. Burma is kaput now. But in Thailand, right now, it's we save we many people get died, and also many people inside. It's more than 80 people, maybe 100, not sure. But all the work is going on. Let's see how many people left. Before finish the job, we cannot say anything.
Thank you. And also, I'll ask you one last question. Bangkok is still better now in Myanmar as well. From 2021, there was civil war going on.
Yes.
And then, many international countries, even India, has been sending many relief materials. US, UK has also been sending relief materials. What do you have to say about the international support that Myanmar is getting?
International support. Actually, the most of the some country like Russia, China, they support Ming Online. But all other country, uh, people who live in other country like Burmese people, we also live in Burma. We also live in America, England, and also Thailand. So Burmese people who love democracy, uh, we give the money to the PTF people in Burma, fight with the.
We have some breaking news coming in now, coming from the Myanmar earthquake, where a 55-person strong team of military medics, first responders and Air Force personnel have been sent to help assist Myanmar in the aftermath of the earthquake. This comes after an aid request was made by Myanmar's junta leader. We have more breaking news as well coming in, where a Russian rescue team has also arrived in Naya Dip Dao, the capital of earthquake-stricken Myanmar. The team brought with them a mobile hospital and will head to hard-hit Mandalay, near the epicenter of the quake, as per the ministry. Brian has also filed some ground reports. Let's take a look at them.
The local authorities are doing whatever they can in the capacity to help the people who are in dire need. Many people are still, looking for their loved ones who they are not aware where they are. There's no information as such. And now here at this very place, many relief items, food items, kits, medicine kits, drinks, food drinks, beverages, everything is being provided. Wet pipes, everything being provided by locals. Water bottles, because there's a lot of humor to keep oneself hydrated as well. Their water relief materials have also been provided by the locals here. Let me show you these. There are many such, water bottle relief items being provided. There are tons of water bottles here for anyone who needs to have water, because there are many personnel from armed forces to security personnels, media personnels, people who are looking for the near and dear ones. All these have been, because for them these relief items have been provided. You can see these people also working day and night to provide food, water and everything. You can see these wet wipes also being provided by the locals here. You see these drinks for them. You see ice stacked of all kinds of drinks being provided. These are wet wipes. These drinks also that is being provided by the locals here, who are sending their help, who are giving out all the helps they can from their end. You can see all these water bottles. There are tons and tons of water bottles, and the locals are extending all kinds of help for the people who would be needing any kinds of help, any kinds of relief materials as well. You can see they are giving out these drinks, these bottles. They are all trying to give out all the help that they are trying to do for the people who would be needing any kind of help. These locals are here, are helping the people here who are all in need here. And apart from that, also there have been mobile ambulances, food items, also lunch items being provided. These are wet wipes being provided. Apart from that, also you can see food items also being provided by the Thai locals. All these kinds of food items are all there being provided, and these are all free for the people. Many personals, many media personals are also, can come here and have food if they want. Now, apart from that, also you can see these ambulances also being deployed. There are more than 10 ambulances being deployed, to keep a vigil, to keep everything spontaneous, to keep everything steadfast. And these are these ambulances on line that has been put out to help everyone who is in need, who are stuck under the rubble. After with that, also a mobile hospital has also been made up here. You can see these mobile hospital have been set up, and this is this situation here where people are trying to help in whatever need in possible. And apart from that, also there are other ambulances services also that is being provided by the locals here. All these relief items, all these materials are being provided by the locals to help these very locals. So yes, viewers, we are trying to show you, trying to give you these exclusive pictures of what these locals are doing to help each other in this dire need.
Well, thank you, Brian. We will continue to bring you more updates on the Myanmar-Thailand earthquake as they come in. But moving on now to the Middle East, Hamas has agreed to a Gaza ceasefire proposal presented by mediators Egypt and Qatar, according to the group's chief Khalil al-Hayya. In a televised speech, he said Hamas had accepted the plan and urged Israel not to undermine it. The proposal reportedly included the staggered release of Israeli hostages, with 5 being freed each week. This is what they said.
كانت تظن إسرائيل أنها تصنع معادلة جديدة في أن تتذرع بذرائع واهية من أجل أن تقتل وأن تدخل إلى هذه الأماكن المختلفة وأن تعتدي على الضاحية والبقاع والجنوب، فهذا أمر مرفوض.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office, however, has submitted a counter-proposal after reviewing the terms. Officials say it was drafted in full coordination with the United States. Egypt had earlier reported positive indications from Israel regarding a potential agreement, but it remains unclear if the two sides are close to a deal. Meanwhile, Hamas's armed wing has released a new video showing an Israeli hostage pleading for his release. The 3-minute-long footage features Elkanah Bobot, who was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival during Hamas's October the 7th attack. We are now joined by Devika Chopra, senior editor of NewsX. Thank you very much for joining us, Devika. Hamas has accepted this temporary 50-day ceasefire proposal, Devika, but Israel has come back and rebutted. What can you tell us about these negotiations, and why are they going to be proved to be so difficult?
Very interesting question there. So Hamas has allegedly agreed to freeing 5 Israeli hostages in exchange for the 50-day ceasefire. Now, Hamas's chief Khalil Hayya, he 2 days ago said that he received a proposal from mediators in Egypt and Qatar, and that they've dealt with it positively and they've accepted it. So it boils down essentially to 2 factors currently. Israel wants the release of 10 hostages instead of 5, and Israel wants Hamas disarmed. Hamas, meanwhile, has agreed to release only 5 hostages right now, while its chief, Khalil Hayya, has said that Hamas's weapons are a red line and that it will not disarm till the Israeli military continues to, quote-unquote, occupy Gaza. What's interesting is that there were 251 hostages that were taken by Hamas. 58 apparently remain in Gaza, including 34 who the Israeli military claims are dead. But what's more important to note is that Israel is not directly involved in the talks in Doha. and is essentially speaking in consultation with the US. But stopping the Israel-Hamas war doesn't seem to be on the priority list for US President Donald Trump, whose administration is currently focused on talks vis-a-vis the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It entirely depends on whether the mediators then in Egypt can convince Hamas to agree to the terms and conditions and demands of Israel, because Israel has not given any signal so far that it certainly wants to end the war. So that's the current situation that one is really looking at. At the end of the day, it seems as though Hamas is expecting some sort of a gesture, a trust-building gesture from Israel. That becomes a very tricky situation, because that's exactly what Israel is expecting out of Hamas, given that Hamas was the group to attack first. They were on the offensive, and Israel ever since has claimed that they have been on the defensive. Therefore, it really now remains to be seen whether the mediators in Egypt and Qatar can somewhere convince Hamas that perhaps it is the militant group that will have to take some of those first steps to let Israel know that they are in for some serious talks for a full and final solution. We're looking at the possibility of a 50-day ceasefire if some terms and conditions are met right now. What's really going to be important in those 50 days is whether the mediators will be able to convince both sides on coming up with a larger plan to end the conflict, because essentially what Israel wants and has said and has maintained since day one, since the day of the attacks, is that it wants complete end and destruction of Hamas. How do you really convince Hamas to give Israel what it wants? That's what the job currently, that's the job that's being done in Doha currently. Over to you.
Devika Chopra, thank you very much for joining us. We now have some more breaking news coming in. Russian forces have just captured a village 7 kilometers from the border of Ukraine's central Dnipropetrovsk region. Russia's defense ministry said on Sunday. Russian army units liberated the village of Zaporizhia in the eastern Donetsk region, the ministry said in a statement. We have more Ukraine's Air Force says it shot down 65 out of 111. Ukraine's Air Force says it has shut down 65 out of 111 drones launched by Russia's overnight as strikes hit multiple regions, causing damage in Kharkiv, Sumy, Odessa and Donetsk. In Kharkiv, a Russian drone strike on a military hospital, shopping centre and residential buildings killed at least 2 people and injured 25 others. This is what a survivor said.
Таке враження, що він пикірує. Я вибігаю в другу кімнату, стається приліт, мене трошки посікло ось осколками стекла, та перед обличчям ось так впала палка. Я вже вращався з життям. Ну і, мабуть...
Meanwhile, Moscow claims its forces captured 2 villages in Zaporizhia region and in Donetsk. Russia also accuses Ukraine of striking its energy facilities despite a US-brokered agreement to avoid such attacks. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine's military is taking active measures to stop Russian advances in Sumy and Kharkiv. He has called for a strong Western response to Russia's continued assaults. This is what he said.
Росію треба примусити до миру, і тільки примус спрацює. Вже надто довго на столі пропозиція Америки про безумовне припинення вогню, без адекватної відповіді з Росії. Це багато говорить. Вже могло би бути припинення вогню, якби на Росію був справжній.
More from Eastern Europe now, where an Urus limousine allegedly belonging to Putin's official car fleet blew up in a huge blast on a street just north of Moscow's Federal Security Service headquarters in Lubyanka. The £275,000 vehicle was engulfed in flames, prompting bystanders, some rushing from nearby bars, to attempt to extinguish the fire before emergency services arrived. Footage circulating online shows the fire spreading from the engine to the vehicle's interior, completely consuming the limousine. According to reports, the limo is managed by Presidential Property Department, which oversees transport for Russia's leadership. It remains unclear who was inside the vehicle at the time of the incident. We now move over to the United States, where amid reports that Donald Trump might fire the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz after his misstep of inclusion of a journalist in a Signal chat. Mike Waltz mistakenly had added Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic magazine, to a group using text, the Signal encrypted messaging service where top officials were discussing plans to attack the Houthis in Yemen. During the chat, Hegseth included details on how the strike would unfold before it took place. The Atlantic published an article the following day on the internal exchange, shocking the national security establishment and hitting headlines across the world. In recent updates, Trump has declined any notion of firing his national advisor. Donald Trump also asserted that he had confidence in his national security advisor Mike Waltz and Pete Hegseth, his Pentagon chief. During a press conference, Donald Trump addressed comments regarding Mike Waltz.
Well, yeah, Mike Waltz, I guess he said he claimed responsibility, I would imagine. Had nothing to do with anyone else. It was Mike, I guess. I don't know. I was told it was Mike. But again, the attacks were unbelievably successful, and that's ultimately what you should be talking about, I think. No, Mike he took responsibility for it.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has called Japan indispensable in countering Chinese aggression and ensuring a credible deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. Speaking in Tokyo alongside Japan's Defense Minister General Nakatani, Hegseth highlighted the strong military ties between the two nations, calling Japan a cornerstone of peace and security in the region. Here's what Hegseth had to say.
Japan is our indispensable partner in deterring communist Chinese military aggression. The U.S. is moving fast, as you know, to reestablish deterrence in this region and around the world, and we look forward to working with you and learning more.
Japan hosts around 50,000 US military personnel, fighter squadrons, and Washington's only forward-deployed aircraft carrier strike group. Its strategic location along a 3,000-kilometer island chain serves as a critical counterbalance to China's growing military power. Hegseth's remarks come as the US reassesses its commitments in other regions, recently warning European allies not to take Washington's military presence for granted. His visit to Japan follows a stop in the Philippines and a memorial service at Iwo Jima, marking 80 years since the historic Battle of World War II. We move to Turkey now, where many people protested in the capital of Istanbul against the jailing of the mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, who was the President Tayyip Erdogan's main rival. This is the largest demonstration Turkey has seen in more than a decade. Özgür Özel, the main leader of the opposition party CHP, which organised the rally, said there were 2.2 million people in the crowd. However, the numbers are yet to be confirmed. The demonstrations have mostly been peaceful, but some earlier protests faced heavy-handed police tactics, who fired tear gas and rubber bullets at the crowd. Nearly 2,000 people have been arrested, including some journalists who had been covering the protests. A Swedish journalist who was detained on his arrival in Turkey to cover the protests. The Turkish presidency said he had been arrested on charges of membership in an armed terrorist organisation and for insulting the president. The presidency said Medin was known for anti-Turkey news and his closeness to the terrorist organisation PKK, the banned Kurdish militant group. They also added that this arrest decision has no connection whatsoever to journalistic activities, it added. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from across the world.